Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha Television's special show on COVID-19, wherein we bring you all the aspects of how India has been battling this pandemic in several terms, be it the technological solutions or the other works done by other government agencies, individuals there as well. One very important aspect during the lockdown period has been that how the citizens can get hold of essential items, and therein comes the role of e-retailing or e-commerce. Now, since there are several guidelines, that is why several e-commerce platforms were not able to go ahead and deliver to the red zones or the affected areas as well. The Today's focus on our show will be on rural areas as to how e-commerce platforms can work in rural areas. How can the e-commerce business function in rural areas? What is it that different government agencies are doing or the traders body is doing? And all this because India is the top retail marketplace as of now. So we have very important guests with us today on this. And let me first introduce the guest to you, beginning with Mr. Ajay Shankar. He is the former secretary of DIPP, the government of India, somebody who has dealt with all these issues firsthand. We also have with us Mr. Dinesh Tyagi. He is the CEO of CSC E-Governance Services India Ltd, which is already working on a G2C marketplace, that is G2C services. We also have with us Mr. Praveen Khandelwal. He's the Secretary General of Confederation of All India Traders, and this body is working in tune with DIPP to bring in Bharat e-market marketplace, e-commerce marketplace as far as rural India is concerned. So let me begin with you, Mr. Khandelwal. Let's try and understand the concept which your organization is working along with the DIPP, that is Bharat e-market. What is it all about?
Well, thank you for inviting me to this show, Mr. Vishal. The issue is that during this pandemic, when the entire country was under lockdown, so it was a challenging task to get essential goods delivered to the consumers at their doorstep. And I'm proud to say that physical retailers across country took this challenge, and they performed their duty well. But the one most important thing, which was noticed, that if there would have been a e-commerce portal which could have supported this endeavor of the traders, then there would be a robust platform which can deliver the things at the doorstep of the consumers. So by realizing this initiative, that the DIPP of the Ministry of Commerce came out with certain kind of idea that if any indigenous marketplace is developed, then it can take care of the consumers, particularly the rural India, what you are talking about, because still the technology has not reached to the tier 3 or tier 4 cities or our rural areas. So this initiative of Bharat e-market is an initiative of DIPP and of Confederation of All India Traders. DIPP has handholding this, and after a little time, this portal will be by the traders, for the traders, and for the traders and consumers across country. And what we are doing, it will work like a phygital model, that is physical onboarding or digital. So what we are doing, and what we have already done, we have done it in more than 130 cities already, where we are onboarding the rural traders on this platform, and from the level of manufacturer up to the end consumer, we are having a robust logistic chain, and the goods from the retailer to end consumer will be delivered to the consumers at their doorstep. They need not to come to the shops to collect those kind of stuff what they are demanding. But yes, of course, there will be an opportunity for them to visit the physical store also, because when somebody will search, the first option will be available. Around 3 kilometer, the neighborhood shops of particular commodity, and that retailer can get it delivered, or the consumer can go to that place and can obtain. So it is something, and it is something to be crafted in a way that
Okay.
that there is a scope for the retailer and the consumer. And the first most important thing is there is no charge for creating a e-store, nor there is any charge for any kind of transaction cost.
Hmm.
So the other portals who are charging from 5% to 30%, this portal will not charge even a single paisa on the transaction cost. So this is precisely the idea behind this portal.
Okay, and these are quite significant pointers out there in terms of how this portal will work and the characteristics there as well. I'll bring in Mr. Ajay Shankar as well, but before that, now let's have another aspect also being brought in by Mr. Tyagi. Mr. Tyagi, you're the CEO of CSC, and it's sort of a similar project is being run by your organization there as well. It's a G2C platform.
Yeah, common service centers are under the Government of India initiative of Digital India, and they are almost in every panchayat. So presently we have about 4 lakh common service centers. The essence of common service center is managed by a local person. He lives in the same community, he has the basic computing infrastructure, he has a connectivity, and he is able to try and deliver services to citizens. You are right, it started with the basic objective of enabling citizens to access government to citizen services, but it has now grown because it's an entrepreneur-driven model. It has now grown. And looking at the issues which are coming at the time of COVID, we started what we call a CSC Grameen e-store. So we started only about less than a month before. We have now got 25,000 of the CSC Grameen e-store. Our objective is to have more than 1 lakh Grameen e-store managed, operated and run by the CSC. What they will do is they take orders from the nearby community. They take produce also from the local village. Somebody is supplying vegetables, somebody is supplying fish from the fish farm, somebody is supplying mangoes from the local place, and some of these entrepreneurs have their own produce also. So they go and supply, so they meet the local logistic requirement, they take orders, and in the same platform, the platform is very good because the consumer can also place an order on a mobile phone, and he decides the price. The entrepreneur decide what price he want to sell, how much offer he want to give, and do that part of the. In the little short period of time, we have done about 1.5 crore rupees transaction, and about 30,000 of these orders distributed. These are meeting local requirements. So local produce, local requirement using technology, and that's what the CC common. Our objective is to do one in every panchayat, 2 lakh of them. We should be able to close them and create this entrepreneurship model, which also helps the farmer in selling produce. Not only the consumer gaining the produce, but also the farmer selling his produce. And it's a phenomenal success. Short period of time, the acceptability and assimilation of within the community has been so significant that we are finding huge vibrancy in the entire program. COVID has thrown a lot of challenges and opportunity. One of the opportunity COVID has is to meet the local requirement. Amazon will never go and supply to rural India. In fact, large portal never supply to rural India. The rural India is to manage, operated, run by the local person. He manages the goods and supplies to them. Presently, we are getting essential commodities. As it opens up, we should be able to supply the other items also to the consumer. Almost everything which a citizen in rural India needs, the CSC should be able to help and support it through these mini stores.
Okay, and this also serves as a entrepreneurship model as well, as you pointed out. Rural entrepreneurship also gets a boost out there, localized for the locals by the locals as well. Mr. Shankar, you heard both the gentlemen here. One in terms of the Grameen e-stores and the other Bharat e-market. So this seems to be a very, very interesting project. One which is already working, second one on which the work is already going on, and time is right now for the e-commerce business to make inroads into the rural India as well. And as Mr. Tyagi pointed out, the big fish in the market might not be able to do it. It will be done by agencies like the CSC and DIPP.
I would like to put this in some perspective over a longer period of time. So this country experienced an extraordinary increase in productivity, including in rural India, when mobile phone penetration took place to almost 100%. This happened about 15 years back. And it transformed the lives of just everybody. Somebody working in Delhi could manage irrigation on his farm in Bihar or see that his children were getting tuition. Now, with mobile phone and broadband connectivity, the potential for enhanced productivity and transformation of the entire economy, including the rural economy, is enormous. Now, this was happening at its normal pace. What COVID-19 has done is given us a shock therapy and has therefore forced us to innovate and to accelerate this transition and get the maximum out of the digital economy. So both Mr. Khandelwal and Mr. Tyagi's initiatives are now serving a felt need, and where the willingness of people to embrace this is much greater than it was before the lockdown. So as soon as the logistics are opened up and transport is opened up, people who have come to these platforms will see greater value in it, greater productivity, and greater economic prosperity. And as far as rural India is concerned, what Mr. Tyagi is doing is great, because today the farmer has a problem of getting his produce to the consumer in the red zone in cities. But with the opening up of neighboring markets in neighboring villages, that market space is being created, and that has huge potential. To just give you an example how that market needs to be created and very often doesn't exist. Of course, I'm now going to speak of something 40, 50 years back. But when I began service, I began in Baghpat. And I had great difficulty in getting vegetables and the excellent watermelons because they'd all come to Delhi. So then I had to use my official influence to get some good products. So what Mr. Tyagi is doing is will create demand and a market in the neighboring areas around villages. And once the producer and the consumer are comfortable in the digital world and discover the full power of the smartphone, then it is a very easy transition to diversify and produce other goods and services, because so far in the absence of electricity and in the absence of good road connectivity, a lot of outsourcing of physical production was happening in the cities to the slum areas. Most of them are now under red zone and lockdown. But it is actually far cheaper to very often produce those things in rural settings once you have electricity, broadband connectivity, and the cost of producing things in terms of capital investment has come down relatively. So I think in the next phase, we'll get a huge opportunity for newer kinds of economic activity in our villages, supported by the local entrepreneurs who are there as aggregators who work on these digital platforms.
And these are the opportunities, and you put it rightly in the perspective in terms of how COVID-19 has given us a shock therapy, and we are now trying to rework everything. But starting from here onwards, and these concepts which both Mr. Khandelwal and Mr. Tyagi pointed out, what do you believe are the challenges moving ahead, Mr. Shankar, as far as implementing these ideas on the ground is concerned? Well, obviously, CSE's Grameen e-stores is a successful one. It has moved beyond a particular level. But having an idea like Bharat e-market being implemented, what might be the challenges here?
The first challenge going forward is, of course, the ability of the authorities to permit physical movement of goods, opening up of public transport, creating a capacity for the drivers of the trucks and the mini trucks and the loaders, unloaders to operate. Maybe government would need to work with them in some places to create separate places where they can stay and be tested, so that there is no disruption in the supply chain or the physical movement. On the other hand, we will need, I think, going forward, some ability to provide some funding to these new entrepreneurs who are emerging at the village level through the mechanism which is there for startup funding. But they are not there on the radar today or on the horizon as potential beneficiaries of people we need to support. The enabling framework of Mudra loans and so on and so forth is there. So a little bit of promotional work and facilitation work to provide credit both for the CSC entrepreneur at the village level, and then some more credit to the people who want to become producers and suppliers through this platform. Mr. Khandelwal's Bharati market also would gain if some easy flow of credit is there for those who enter this market space and want to grow in it. Because typically in India, for the micro enterprises and the smallest trader, formal credit has not been easily available. So if that becomes available more easily, then this can grow much faster.
Okay, so easy credit flow, one, and two, the infrastructure aspect as well. Mr. Khandelwal, from the trader's point of view, since you represent the trading body and you're part of this project as well, what might be the key points here to try and ensure that the implementation is as smooth as the planning has been?
First of all, I would like to put it on record that the COVID lockdown has encouraged the traders to learn the importance of digital space, which was earlier not in their mind. That is point number one. Point number two is, as we are representing 40,000 trade associations across country, and in turn we are representing around 7 crore traders. So the onboarding of traders on digital platform, beside having a physical platform, is very easy, at least for us, where we are not charging even a single paisa for creating e-store. Neither we are charging any paisa for transaction cost. So these two are the major significant benefit for the traders, and I can say that our traders are delighted now. And one most important thing is that every trader who will onboard on this platform will automatically become a shareholder of the company. So it's like a cooperative, and because our ultimate goal is to onboard the last mile retailer on this platform, because 130 crores of people in the country have their first contact with a retail shop. And if that retailer is onboarded on a digital platform, then not necessarily the consumer will come to the market. And secondly, what we are giving a very specific thing is that the store, the first opportunity will be of the nearest store available to his geography. So that means there are several products like sarees which do want a physical feeling also. So it will help the consumers to go to the neighborhood shop and get the physical feel also, and in turn they can buy it on digital also.
Okay.
And one most important thing, in case of jewelers are the main sufferers of this COVID lockdown. Remember the old days when jewelers were going to the places of consumers with their products and getting it sold at the doorstep of the consumer. This platform will enable all such people to go back to the consumer, because ultimately we have to run with the consumer. So the total aim of this portal is to bring the Indian nationality, the Indian culture, our heritage into this e-commerce system.
Okay. So the idea is that you go ahead and bring everybody together, and specifically the last mile connectivity, as Mr. Khandelwal is pointing out. Mr. Tyagi, from the challenges point of view, which Mr. Shankar was pointing out, in terms of your model, which is there, since it involves rural entrepreneurs there as well. So what are the contours out there of your model specifically to go ahead and encourage others to join in?
See, one submission, of course, is that 70% population living in rural India. The market also, the new market will come only from rural India. And as Mr. Shankar said, if we can cover 5 to 10 kilometers of the geography of adjoining areas and serve that area, this store, this CSC Grameen store, will become a commercially viable solution for him and also create a lot of employment. See, 4 lakh common service centers, if they engage and make 4 lakh of these Grameen store, will at least give employment to 5 people. 2 million people will get jobs. 2 million new people will get jobs in rural India in order to try and serve logistic, try and segregate, get the stuff and buy from wherever, store it, and then supply to them. We are already seeing the change happening. The common service center who are running Grameen store are presently at 2 to 3 people employed. As the growth increases, a significant amount of employment will get generated in rural India. The potential is phenomenal. The point on availability of credit, fortunately, we have tie-up with various banks, and one of the banks, in any case, is available. Not only the entrepreneur himself take credit, he also enables the other villagers to obtain a credit. A farmer can also obtain a credit. Of course, they have their own process, but easily done. You can buy a loan for a car or a scooter or three-wheeler sitting in the village, and you don't have to go anywhere. So the advantage, since it's a one-stop shop for meeting all the requirement of loan, credit, banking facility, insurance, pension, and of course government services, it builds up the huge credibility of the nearby people to have faith rather than having faith in some other portal which is not located near to them, which they don't know. A transaction in technology which fails, at least he'll be able to address and solve those issues. So local entrepreneur, local Grameen store, supported, managed by a local person and owned by the community can be a phenomenal model for India. Creating employment and also serving the farm community. Also small enterprise who build that system with the point mentioned saying, can we shift the market from red zone to rural for manufacturing? If the goods can be serviced within the same area, you can actually have small units coming up. The Prime Minister vision of Gram Swaraj can also be supported by doing all that activity. Common Service Center will actually fulfill the ambition of creating Gram Swaraj because the huge bouquet of services and very young enterprising people in rural India. Inherently, Indians are enterprising. We are only motivating and supporting them in order to build that model.
Definitely. Once an opportunity is provided, people would definitely come up and hold that opportunity and make good use of it. Concluding words from you, Mr. Shankar, in terms of both these concepts, working independently and maybe in tandem with each other, but the ultimate goal is to have that last mile connectivity and give benefit to one in rural areas, to the farmers and the traders as well.
One point which Mr. Khandelwal made, I would like to reinforce, and which is that both these initiatives are national initiatives, they are Indian initiatives. And I am particularly very happy that we are finally creating our own national platforms and national digital spaces and brands, because being one of the first to make a presence felt globally in the software industry, as a country we have been very slow in creating presence even within the country of brands and platforms which are our own. So I'm so glad that this is happening, because I think we have the talent and the potential to be global leaders here. And this is a very good beginning in that direction, and I would like to recognize that. Mr. Khandelwal also said that this will give a cost advantage to everybody. And so is Mr. Tyagi's thing, because you have somebody at the village level. So in theory, there is a cost advantage in both initiatives. And we have to also recognize what Mr. Tyagi said, that we have a lot of very talented young people across the country, especially in rural India. And that talent is getting an opportunity through these initiatives and through the new digital world. Because in the new digital world, you can learn almost anything on YouTube. You can learn how to make things, you can learn how to, design products, you can learn all kinds of things. The moment you get digital platforms of this kind, then you have the potential of creating the product, the service, as well as the market. So this can really, over the coming years, transform rural India and create enormous wealth in rural India. So I see great promise and potential in what are today just first baby steps, accelerated by the necessity of the lockdown and this COVID crisis.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Mr. Shankar there, Mr. Khandelwal, and Mr. Tyagi, as well as has been pointed out by our guests. This COVID-19 pandemic has definitely given us a shock therapy, but this shock therapy has moved us into working on different solutions, utilization of digital technology. And one good example here is projects like Bharat e-market, and the one which is already being worked upon by the CSC, that is Grameen e-stores. The idea here is to have that last mile connectivity, have people in rural areas, specifically the farmers and the traders, be connected with the consumers directly and make use of the digital technology here. We'll keep bringing you all the updates on this as well as other aspects as far as India's fight against COVID-19 is concerned. You keep yourself safe, stay home, follow all the guidelines and social distancing norms. Till then, keep watching Rajya Sabha television as well. Thank you.